Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Adam RPG with me, Bring It On. We're going to talk to this veteran. In front of you is a man in his 50s, even though he looks much older. His sunken eyes, thin motionless legs, and near constant dry cough all are signs of a serious illness. But the tattoos of weapons, military equipment, abbreviations of pre-war divisions on his parchment-like skin tell of a story of a past spent in the army. The sick man looks at you with a mix of surprise, fear, and disgust. He starts talking with a throaty falsetto. Everything will be fine in Krasno, Ambrose. You'll get a place to stay, a pension, Ambrose. Everyone will respect you, Ambrose. Is that I think it's pronounced Ambrose. Like more of a SCH sound. The high-pitched parody of a female voice is replaced by a thick soldier's bass. Foolish woman. Yeah, I got my own place. But everyone, and their uncle too, keeps parading in it. Who are you? And what the heck are you doing here? Who, me? I'm just getting to know the locals. Can we talk? Oh my goodness. I while away here, crippled and forgotten, but some hoodlums just can't leave me alone. Come on, tell me what you want and go away. Tell me a bit about yourself. Military past, unclear future. That's original, right? It's a bit laconic. Another question. Well? What do you do for a living? What do you think I do? The old man lifts one of his legs with his hands and lets it go. The leg falls back down like a dead weight. Do you suppose I run marathons? Nope. Krasno is paying me a pauper's pension. Darn it to heck. Wow, you even get a pension? Cool. Another question. What do you think about Krasno? They have respect for the old and the crippled, but not too much, of course. Just enough to stop me from wanting to assemble a mine and blow up their darn government-built bunker on one nice sunny morning. That's still something, I guess. Let me ask you something else. Any rumors you'd like to share? What's the use of sharing them? People have been talking for I can't remember how many months now about that some shady people in Paragon are doing God knows what under the disguise of a barbecue shop. But our local politicians still go there to eat. Well, I guess the food there is good. Another question. Alright, I'm sorry. Let's change the subject, whatever. Okay, it was fun talking to you, but I gotta go. Bye. Alright, so it must be in the Chamber of Commerce that we get the quest for the veterans. Did we speak to this guy? Yeah, alright. Standing in front of you is a tall, thin man in a police uniform. He moves slowly as he scans the street. When his gaze falls on you, a scabrous grin takes over his face. Rubbing his hands in a disturbing way, he turns to you. Oh, hello there, comrade. What brings you here? Just taking a walk, perhaps? Or maybe looking to sell something to the good people of our city? Just taking a walk, checking out the local rumors. Do you have anything for me? You wouldn't believe what kind of things we hear on duty every day. Take, for example, the story of the agronomist's lustful maid. They say there was this agronomist out east who made a fortune disinfecting the cornfields. In fact, his life was so good he even hired a homeless she-mutant to be his maid, to clean, dust, do the laundry, etc. But he didn't know that this woman, despite being covered with scales and green skin, was a real man-eater. And what do you know? A month ago she was just his help, now he's getting ready to make her his wife. I can never do that, to be honest. And that old fool was so happy, inviting his neighbors to the wedding. Tooey. That's quite a story. What if I'm here to open a business? What do you care? Militiaman's eyes grow round with feigned surprise. Tut tut. Isn't it my business to check documents, trade licenses, permits, stock? And who else could offer you your very own theft protection plan? No one does business without one of these days. Do you know how much responsibility a militiaman has here in the city? We can't always keep an eye on your store. Getting yourself a protection plan is definitely the smart move. I'm not a trader, I just like to chat. How did you end up on the force, comrade? There were quite a few hungry years in my childhood. I was even forced to steal. Once I crawled through a window into the apartment of a well-heeled old man who was rumored to have bundles of pre-war rubles hidden under the floorboards. I searched the whole house and didn't find any treasure. Just 200 rubles and a couple cans of beans. When I crawled back out into the street trying to catch my breath, I was greeted by Afanasy Mikhailovich, one of our local police. He was tall, strong, and stylish from head to toe. his snout all fat and shiny and sporting a friendly grin. The gun at his side shone in the last red rays of sunset. This lawman didn't see me as some low-life punk. He looked at me as if I were his own son with love. Then he said in a warm and kindly voice, 100 rubles, and I never saw you. It was that moment I realized I wanted to dedicate my life to law enforcement, so I can continue what Afanasy Mikhailovich so bravely began. That's quite a story, but I must go now. Bye. Alright, so here's the hotel. I don't think we can go into this room yet. You see a huge guard near the room entrance. As you come closer, he blocks your path. Stop right there. Artemiev is busy and won't accept visitors. Who are you? Just curious. Can I come in? The guard changes his grip on the shotgun to a more comfortable one. The huge gun looks like a toy in his large hands. If you don't have business, you can't come in. Fine, as if I needed to get in there, or to get there anyway. Yeah, it's part of a fun little quest chain later on. Well, that's a good buy. A sullen man with a mousy mustache looks up from under a red lamp. He seems to be disgruntled, or then again, this might be his permanent state. He heaves a deep sigh and says in a voice thick with tragedy, Welcome to the City Hotel. Are you looking for a room? Yeah, I could do with 600 minutes of sleep. We can arrange this. A room will cost you 50 rubles, breakfast included. I hope you're not allergic to rat meat. Our suite is occupied, I'm afraid, but the standard room is still quite nice. I've changed my mind. Let's take one step back. He sighs with the wariness of a man whose life must test again and again. Or who life must test again and again. Let me ask you a question. Okay then, ask away. He looks like Dr. Phil. What's life like in the city? I could say it's tolerable, but why should I? Life in Krasno resembles a spoonful of jam with a fly stuck in it. It almost looks yummy, but I wouldn't stick it in my mouth. That's a pessimistic outlook. Can I ask something else? How did you end up a hotel owner? My mother and I opened the hotel after the war. I wanted to wander the wasteland in search of my fortune, but Mother insisted I stay here to help. And when she died, I ended up inheriting the burden. Where can I go now? My travels ended before they began. But don't give up just yet. Another question. And why so sad, chum? Is there some reason I should be merry? I live alone, and life is often hard. No time to travel either. I visited Fogolevka and Ochernoye a couple times. Even that was a thrill for me. This is not a life. This is torture. One of these days. Enough. Now maybe we should change the subject then. I have another question. Have you heard any good rumors? I heard about a famous mutant hunter, Rivlin from Silesia. He has a magazine of silver bullets for mutants, and regular lead bullets for gangsters and raiders. I bet he has some stories to tell. Sounds like a tough guy. Can I ask something else? Alright, okay, keep up the good work. I have to go. Alright, so this bra is part of a quest. Did I miss that quest already? Or is it elsewhere? Short message. It happened again. My talent to seduce women. Is this a gift or a curse? My vocation or the cross I have to bear? To bear and sigh and moan. I wish I knew. Taurus Korlov. And then Brazier. Or Brazier. Alright, let's go in here. Are they gonna get mad if I... Okay, let's talk. A big unshaved man with a smoking cigarette between his teeth stands in front of you. He casts an indifferent look at you and clears his throat, covered in, I guess soot, not sooth, from thick tobacco smoke. What is it? Nothing really. Just hoped for a chat. Sure, let's chat. We're not exactly flooded with work around here anyway. Where have you come from, guys? From Trudegrad. My boss, there he is collecting material for his articles, and I accompany him as a photographer. I almost said photographer. Well, and I also scribble from some stuff too, like crossword puzzles and stuff. They pay for this trip, of course, but there's absolutely nothing to do in these backwaters. By the way, talking of work, do you want to earn some money? This sounds interesting. Give me the details. Sure. Look, Trudegrad is currently suffering from lack of paper. There's not much left from before the war, and freshly produced paper is way too expensive. So before I left, guys from the print shop had asked me to buy waste paper in Krasno, as it's cheaper. But it's not as simple as they think. I bought some in Paragon, and some here and sent it to Trudegrad, but to complete the order, I need more. The man spits out a cigarette, but it instantly opens a new pack. Fancy a cig? I wouldn't mind a cigarette, thanks. No need to thank me for a roll of poison. Just a second. The journalist extracts 2 cigarettes from the pack. One for you, one for himself. Lights one, and goes on. So I need 500 more stacks of paper to complete the order. I'll pay you 12 rubles per pack. If you find all 500 stacks I need, I'll also give you a bonus. Just a second. Right, I have 64. Give the paper to the journalist. He whistles and gives you the money. Not bad. At this rate, we'll soon gather the necessary amount. Wait. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we have 64 of the 500 we need. Good. Well, can we talk now? Sure, let's chat. Okay, we already said that. How is it, being a journalist nowadays? That depends. If you know what to write, it can be quite a lucrative job. And if you don't, you risk ending up like one independent journalist from around here. He was digging up some dirt on the local criminal figure, and then mysteriously disappeared from the city. Well, you got the idea. I can't tell you more, because the said criminal figure lives next door. He's talking about Artemiev, on the other side of the hotel. Well, I wasn't born yesterday. Can you answer another question? Sure. What can you tell me about Krasno? It's a city, just like any other city. I've seen worse, or I've seen better, I've seen worse. My boss and I usually visit the local brothel, to interview sex workers, solely for this reason. Giving the lower classes the opportunity to speak. Great. Can I ask another question? Have you heard anything interesting? The big bosses of Paragon, that's to the north from here, are constantly at each other's throats. I wonder what it will all lead to. As usual, to nothing good. There's another thing I wanted to ask. Okay, I think that's it. The man just nods in reply. Enough chatting, I have to go. Did I give him... It looks like I gave him all the waste paper that I had. Cool. The man who walks to and fro across the room is middle-aged, of average height, a bit plump, and seems to be engrossed in his thoughts. He fidgets with a pencil stub and snorts and mumbles something to his companion, who also sits in the room. As he sees you, he becomes very serious. I'm Vladislav Zherenko, editor-in-chief of the Shoot to Kill print house. Are you here to talk about my interview with the local veterans? Who are these veterans? My colleague spent so much time writing these ads, and apparently someone tore them off the wall again. I'm looking for someone to interview a couple of people for my publishing house. Interested? I don't know if that's a typo or if that's what he's actually meant to say. A couple of people. Let's talk first, shall we? Okay, why not? You practice your interviewing skills. Let's start. Where are you from, guys? Like most printed media nowadays, from Trudegrad. The city lost about 50% of its population, but preserved in its copper-bellied dozens of printing presses. I see. Next question. What is it? How is it being a journalist nowadays? Just like in any other job, everything runs smoothly if you manage not to turn into a fanatic. If they ask for a piece on, let's say, corn, go to the fields and describe everything that goes on there as best you can. If they ask a piece on carnivorous mutants, well, look for someone who's met them, make up a plausible story that involves you, and relax. That's why I don't subscribe to any newspapers. Another question. What can you tell me about Krasno? A nice, I assume quiet, godforsaken backwater. A perfect definition for this place. No need to snort. After the devilish technogenic ziggurat of Trudegrad, even pre-war Moscow will seem a backwaterish to you. I'm not from around here. I won't be hurt. I have another question. Are there any rumors that seem interesting to you? One fellow was investigating the local legends about a brain worm that gets inside your head through your pupil and subdues you. While his investigation was in full swing, he dashed to Georgia all of a sudden. Said he wanted to visit his family. Weird. He never said he had any relatives in there. So we know someone who says they're from Georgia. We've met them once, and we're going to meet them again, hopefully soon, but it might take longer than I'm expecting. Gives you food for thought. Can I ask another question? But yeah, keep track of that rumor. Alright, let's talk about Dick Popov. Dick. Is this that muscled guy whose presence in his private sauna the ex-mayor of Kitezh City failed to explain? Although, no, that was Pedro Stallion. Oh, what are you talking about then? About the unique, extraordinary erotic space text series. Yeah, I'm starting to remember. Some guy told me about his character in the same words. I believe I was trying to have lunch in the shade. He ran to me, for some reason called me a pig, and started babbling. So how is it relevant? This guy came up with an idea of an unusual book series. A collection of stories about a character called Dick Popov. Ah, I see now. What you suggest is that we should start publishing second-rate pulp fiction targeted at base lowbrow audience. Well, in a nutshell, yes. This is decided then. We'll publish it. There's not enough fiction in the Wasteland, and people do want to entertain themselves too. Growing beetroot and beating each other up after some vodka is not enough, apparently. You can tell your author to start preparing the material. By the way, would he mind transferring all his rights to the publishing house? And if his works don't turn out commercially successful, reimbursing Shoot to Kill Print House with his personal effects, and paying me 60% of the income as his personal producer and the discoverer of his unique talent. Wait here. I'll go and ask him. The editor grins. It was a rhetorical question. Thank you for the contact. This all turned out just great. Let's change the subject. Let's talk about an interview. The man folds his arms on his belly. Alright, so I was wrong. It wasn't a Chamber of Commerce quest, it was a newspaper quest. Look, there are three heroes of the Battle of the Berlin Wall that currently live in the city. Yeah, that very battle in the war against the Western Bloc that ended up in the nuclear surprise for us. On the one hand, this is extremely lucky. On the other, they refuse to talk to me. We started off on the wrong foot. One guy, who I suppose has a bad case of PTSD, threw his urinal right at my head. You don't say. Living history. Yeah. Sad yet beautiful, like a violin playing in a Chinese garden. Alas the times and the manners. Alas the living history. That's exactly how I'm going to sell this story, but I need juicy details. I need these three old farts to crack up. And if I agree, where will I find them? All I need is for them to tell me about those events. We'll make up the rest. So these are their names. Sergei Maslov, who lives in the suburbs, but in a good house. Ambroz Trufilev, from a house near the hotel. It was his urinal that I was nearly hit by. And the third is Vyatsky the Navigator. People say he too has some sort of a house somewhere in the suburbs, but he prefers lying around grasping at a bottle. I find them all and make them tell you about that battle. Write it all down or memorize it. I don't know. And bring their stories to me. You'll get 50% of my wages. Deal? Deal. The man claps his hands and dances with pleasure, which makes the old floorboards creak. Well done. Great. I'd kiss you, but I'm not big on that. Alright, I'll be waiting here. Alright, good luck. Alright, let's take care of that quest real fast. So it doesn't take long. You again. What does he want from old Ambroz this time? Ambroz Trufilev? How about an interview, you old war dog? Again. Why you... The man unceremoniously points a scrawny finger at you. Another one. Another butthole come to dig up my glorious past. Already told to the first journo to go screw himself. Throw my urinal at him. After spending a third of my pension on buying a new one, I won't do the same to you. Listen, what we're gonna do. Give me 100 rubles and the story is yours. I want to learn from you. I want to know what it takes to become a hero. Savior of the motherland. Oh goodness gracious. What a nice guy you are. Okay. I'll tell you everything. Just stop brown-nosing. Listen. Nod and gesture him to continue. The man sniffs angrily, but gradually his eyes glaze over, as if he's mentally traveling to the past. Well, as you know, by 1986, the Berlin Wall wasn't that flimsy concrete rubbish that they put there after the World War II anymore. Now its height in some places reached 5 meters. Its width was expanded so much that 2 men could walk shoulder to shoulder atop it. The guys and I were ordered to guard a mere 100 meters of this construction. What could go wrong? But I'm guessing something did go wrong. It all started like a usual West Germany approved love rally. It was all pretty standard. We want peace, we want union, the wall is bad, blah blah blah. At times I would even feel for those protesters. I would think, indeed, why do we care to hold onto this piece of the country? But it looks like for somebody, love and beautiful speeches weren't self-expression enough. Continue listening in silence. At some point, Lisha Mamedov and I began noticing very suspicious people in plain clothes among the crowd of the peaceful protesters. They communicated with each other with gestures, and it seemed as if they were directing the crowd. They provoked the protesters to move ever closer to the wall. That's when Serezha Kulikov, our sniper, noticed that one of these people in plain clothes was carrying something under his trench coat. And now he crouched down and was attaching this something to the base of a wall, while hiding behind the hippies that surrounded him. What was it? It was C4. After that, everything went to the dogs. I remember it second by second. First, Kulikov neutralized the man with the explosive, because he saw him attaching the detonator already. Right after that, one of the agents in plain clothes killed Kulikov with a shot from a gun concealed in his sleeve, right from the center of the crowd. I can still see the poor guy falling from the wall and holding onto his neck. After that, the crowd that didn't figure out what had happened rushed to the nearest checkpoint, attacking us for their murdered friends. By that time, I had already got out a megaphone, switched on a siren, started convincing citizens not to respond to the provocation. They began shooting at me from inside the crowd, from the roofs of the surrounding houses. I barely managed to hide from the bullets. I don't know what special unit was in charge of the operation, but they had it all figured out. As the shooting started, a group of people broke away from the crowd of protesters and took down the checkpoint's gates. Then, several explosions happened. Evidently, Kulikov had neutralized only one bomber out of many. Everyone was scattered. What happened to you next? When I came round, a good 50 meters of the wall had turned to dust. People were running from our side, from the East Germany to hide in the West Germany. The militants from the West Germany broke into our side and were disappearing in the city that was mad with panic, to facilitate their allies' planned invasion. A few days later, as a response to the shooting of the peaceful protest, East Germany was invaded by the NATO troops. They even had videotapes of someone from our part of the wall firing at the crowd from a machine gun. Diplomacy proved to be powerless. The war engulfed the whole world. That's it. What a story. You are a hero. The man looks glumly at Hexogen, but doesn't dignify him with a response. As far as I know, this wasn't the only such fight. Maybe it wasn't. I'm just a soldier telling you what I saw. What was your comrade in arms, Navigator Vyatsky, doing that day? Navigator? Do you mean Heim Vyatsky? Yes. These days he calls himself Navigator. He got attacked when defending the checkpoint. He shot tear gas at the aggressors to avoid aggravating the situation. When the crowd took down the gates, he almost had a gas grenade shoved up his butt. Good thing that guys covered him up and he had time to get away. What was your comrade in arms, Sergei Maslov, doing that day? Ambrose frowns and rubs his forehead. Maslov. No, I don't remember him. I didn't have anybody with that name. So the initial pretext for the start of the war was a lie. I don't know. This has always bothered me. That's why I hate it when different morons make me remember it. The footage in which somebody from our side was unloading a machine gun on the peaceful crowd went around the world. But I'm a living witness to that it never happened. Nobody used the machine gun, even though we had it. Except, I did in fact black out for a couple of minutes. No, I have no idea. Well, that's some story. Thank you for sharing it. And I'm not thanking you for prying this awful thing out of me again. Be kind. Let me live what's left of my life in peace. Alright, another word about it. See ya. Alright, that's one interview done. 2 more to go. And that should wrap up this episode. This guy? Or was it? No, that's Censor. Where's this guy at? Here he is. A proud-looking man in a neat suit greets you with a light smile and a nod. What do you want now, comrade? I ask you a couple of questions. How about an interview? This depends on the newspaper. I was sent by the Shoot to Kill print house. I see. Well, usually I demand a fee for an interview, but if it's published, it can spread information about me and my deeds, so I can make an exception. Great. Let's start. War. War is a calamity. This is what I wrote to my dear wife Svetlana Markovna on that terrible day when treacherous NATO agents, who tried to pass themselves off as peaceful protesters, partially blasted the Berlin Wall, where I was on duty. Where's your wife now? Alas, she lived in Moscow. Nod silently and continue listening. Yeah, so there I was, only worried about one thing at the moment. A little girl amidst the protest. The activists thought we were shooting at them, not just at the provokers, and ran to the checkpoint. I jumped to the crowd from the wall, from the 30-meter height to the sea of people, and covered the child with my own body before she was trampled by enemy agents in the crowd. I continue listening in silence. The man looks through you with unseeing eyes. The child, Gretchen, and her mother Laura thanked me in tears. They offered to go with me to the government of West Germany and tell them what I did, and about the provokers in the crowd. Oh, if only we had succeeded. I would have stopped the war by one brave act. So what stopped you? Rascals. Rascals among us. A group of turncoats headed by Division Commander Petrenko, my immediate, so to speak, superior, detained me for defection, for bargaining with the enemy. It was then I came up with my famous utterance, an eye for an eye is not a way of the noble, but the way to get blind. People saw just how right it was when the first bombs touched the ground. It was your colleague Ambros Treflev doing that day. Last time I saw him before the retreat, he was hiding from artillery fire. What was your comrade in arms Navigator Vyatsky doing that day? I don't remember. I guess he got shot in the arm and left. So what were you doing after the bombardment? Like everyone, I had to retreat. However, unlike many soldiers, I wasn't marauding, robbing, and killing left, right, and center. Even then, I was teaching the survivors the intricate art of restoring the civilization after the apocalypse. One heck of a story. Thank you. I'd better go. I understand you have to go. I don't insist. I don't hesitate to say no if you're that way inclined. This won't affect our relationship in any way. But perhaps after what you've just heard, you want to support the old warrior. I'm sorry, I'm broke. Bye. Not giving him any money. So I think he's fibbing. So I think neither one of the other veterans remember him being at the wall. But I could be mistaken. But I think the truth comes out. Oh, which way am I going? Actually, we're gonna wait real fast. 12 hours. Because Navigator Vyatsky, you can only talk to him at nighttime, outside of Fidel's bar. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I wonder how bad these ponds stink. This whole area has to smell awful. A married drunk who calls himself Vyatsky the Navigator last time slaps himself on the thigh as he sees you. My future benefactor. What, you come to see the respectable pensioner veteran Vyatsky the Navigator dancing? Earning his nightly vodka as a jester for the cheering crowd. 10 rubles per dance. Vyatsky the Navigator. I was just looking for you to talk about the war. The war. Vyatsky the Navigator frowns and points his right index finger up, as if preparing to share a brilliant thought with you. It never changes, the son of a gun. What? Someone told you that Vyatsky the Navigator is not just a jester and a dancer, but also witnessed the beginning of the end of this freaking world? Yes. I would really want to hear your story of that battle. I might be a bit drunk. Don't let it disturb you. I'll tell you the whole story as it is. But I should warn you, there will be no gory details. Just think, my boy. Peace is what all warriors truly aspire to. Peace, not bloodshed. Perhaps this is why we screwed up so mightily that day. And how exactly did you screw everything up? Serving in Berlin was a cushy job. Hiccup. East Germany was ours, but it was still totally foreign. All these alleys and fashionable fraus. Ahem. Still intelligence. I don't know which. American or West German. Or maybe the Englishman stroke back. Still, they did us a lot of harm. Under the guise of a peaceful demonstration. So, people gathered at our part of the wall. Posters in their hands, slogans. Ambrose Trufilev was our boss. Kulikov and Sveklenko were a sniper and a pointer, respectively. Continue listening in silence. So people were shouting, singing, calling out to unite the two Berlins. I noticed one cute German girl, fair-headed beauty. Hiccup. Her poster featured a heart, half painted as the East Germany flag, half as the West. Smart, eh? But Kulikov, who had a wife, noticed a man that was trying to lay a mine under the wall in all that turmoil, so he shot at him, at the foreign provoker. Continue listening in silence. The man closes his eyes. At this point, someone shot back at him from the crowd. The bullet went right through his throat. Then all hell broke loose. Orders and ranks, it was all complete chaos. Because then I saw a second provoker, also with an explosive block. I was running along the wall, waving my rifle for people below to step aside, and they were screaming blue murder. Must have thought we were shooting at civilians. Part of the crowd dashed away, part rushed to the gate. I prepared my rifle but didn't shoot. There were too many people around the provoker. 2 enemy agents, darn them, managed to blast the wall in 2 places. People flew from east to west Germany. We started exchanging fire with unknown people dressed as civilians who positioned themselves on the rooftops. Angry crowd, checkpoint. The mass media somehow got hold of the picture of us shooting a machine gun at the crowd. And then, it grew like a snowball. And what was your colleague Ambrose Trufilev doing that day? And as for our captain, he tried to calm people down until the end. Got in crossfire with those guys on West Germany's side. But even without them, he wouldn't have helped. Because the protesters thought that our Kulikov put one of them down. or put down one of them. What was your comrade in arms Sergei Maslov doing that day? The drunk navigator hits himself on his chest, his cheeks puffing with anger. I almost forgot. Maslov. Sergei Maslov. Bloody liar. He says he was fighting at our side at the time, serving at the checkpoint. But we never had an officer with this name. He wasn't anywhere near the wall. I might be drinking, but I have no problems with memory. And his uniform. Ask him someday to put it on. He only wore it once to press the Chamber of Commerce to pay his pension. It's 3 times bigger than mine. Who was it that fired a gun at civilians? Maslov? This lying dog, curse him. I think he'd have gladly shot people from the wall, except he wasn't there. There was no officer with this surname at the wall. What a twist. I'll remember it. Thanks for telling me, man. No problem, matey. May it serve you well. I never thought that true historic figures would be drinking at my emporium. Historic my butt. Ha! Now I'm a simple drunkard. Okay, I have to think about what I've just heard. Alright, back into the other side. Let's go confront Maslov real fast, and then we'll turn in this quest. The plot thickens. This is journalism at its finest. Time for the long trek back. Again, there's an argument to be made to just pay the 500 rubles it takes to get through the front gate of Krasno, but I'm a cheapskate. I can't afford to do that right now anyway, because again, I'm pretty sure I need 3,000 rubles for the next Red Fighter upgrade. Also, there is a shield that is a type of shield that's better than the one that I currently have, the steel shield. I don't think I ever found it in my first playthrough. So I need to keep my eyes peeled for that as well. Did I talk to this guy? He doesn't have a name. We talked to that guy already. You see a tough man looking calm and collected. His manner and equipment make you think he's a lawman. Hello and welcome to sunny Krasno, my friend. Are you lost? In a city this big and beautiful, anyone could get lost, at least for a minute. I can tell you really like the city. Why is that? I was born and bred here. Krasno is the city of my childhood. The city where my grandpa carried me around on his shoulders. Where my mom died from the sting of a wasp. All my suffering and all my love is here in the stones of this city. That's why I swore to keep it safe in my new role, serving as a proud member of our militia. Now where can a person get a drink? The militia member wrinkles his nose in contempt. If you really need to, you can find that poison just about anywhere these days. Abraham the book trader and some of the more serious merchants don't sell this stuff, but the rest of them sure do. There'll be a full glass waiting for you just about everywhere you go, but I'm not going to show you the way. I hate drinking, and I hate drunks. What's your problem with alcohol, buddy? You can tell me. So you're obviously a reasonable person. I'll relate my melancholy tale. My father was a drinker and a fiend. Every night he would go after my mom and karate chop her in the old hump, knee her in the gut, and pile drive her into the floorboards. When I tried to save her, he elbowed me right in the kisser. Every single day we suffered through this unpleasant routine. So Grandpa packed his old scatter gun full of nails and glass shards, and turned that vicious wino into a pincushion. Since those days, the smell of spirits on a man makes my hands shake and my eyes see red. Makes me want to serve up some murder right to their face, you know? Torture, flail, and debone. God, how I hate them drunks. Now I get you, another question. Any juicy rumors going around right now? My good friend Abraham was constantly being pestered by some weirdos, calling themselves the enemies of literature. Then a lone hero wrote the final chapter in their book of life, in their own blood. Hey, that was me. The guard at the gate is extorting money from travelers. Yep, he sure is. What can we do? Our hands are tied. It's a pity. I love to weed out troublemakers and thieves like him from the ranks. Well, that's not encouraging. Can I have something else? I need to go. Farewell. Alright. Cool. New guard. We got 45 experience. Just want to check these guards real quick. Again, we've talked to him already, and I think... Yeah, we've talked to him already. What do you want now, comrade? I believe I've answered all your questions already. To accuse you of lying, fake. The man suddenly looked scared. I suppose it was one of my unfortunate fellow soldiers who fed you this story. Yes, the boys are not what they used to be. Illnesses, alcoholism, and old wounds have got the better of them. Of course, as their comrade in arms, I do everything in my power to help them. But they seem to ignore it and constantly accuse me of lying. Enough subterfuge, mate. We're not enemies. I'm just wondering how you managed to take them for a ride. The man looks at you for a while, his face unfathomable, and finally steps back and covers his face with his hands. True. What's the point of lying? What will you do to me? Rattle me in the chamber so they stop paying my pension? They won't believe you, and if you try to start a fight, the guards will stop you. They respect me. But I've never lied to anyone. Well, I'm not calling it a lie anyway. I just sugar-coated the truth a little. Where did you get the uniform? Bought it? Stole it? Bought. After the war, you could buy and sell everything. There's no control over it. I just had a hunch it would be useful one day. And how did you take them all for a ride then? Just got in the right place at the right moment, is all. Anyone would have done the same. I often talk to true veterans. They don't need glory. They drank it all through and forgot it like a terrible dream. So what if someone adopted it and turned it into a fake yet inspiring story of his own life? They're none the worse for it. Yes, I forced the local government to pay me pension. I need money to survive. But I didn't do it just for myself. All the Krasnoznamenny residents who really participated in this bloody war now receive it. Is it bad? It's all pretty clear, veteran. See you. Alright, we'll turn him in when we get the opportunity. So how much money did I get from... Let me scroll back up. This is my inventory was updated. It didn't tell me how much money I got paid for the waste paper. I don't remember how many I sold them. Vladislav Zarenko, editor-in-chief of the Shoot-to-Kill print house, walks to and fro in his room. As he sees you, he raises his hand to greet you. Hello, what's brought you here? Let's talk about an interview. Well, I'm listening, colleague. Okay, so this is what I found out. Righty, go on. I'm anxious to hear it. This is what Trufflev told me. Tell him what you've learned. The journalist diligently writes down the story according to your words. Yeah, this fellow is a real war hero, a servant to the king and father to his soldiers. This could force tears even from the most iron-hearted readers. Great job, colleague. This is what Vyatsky told me. Zarenko quickly writes down your story. Wow, you don't see a passion this strong even in a video parlor. He's no man, he's an action film character, this guy. And this is what Maslov told me. The journalist diligently writes down the story according to your words. Look, I'm full of cynicism. I'm a stranger to sentiments and emotions. But look, there's a tear in my eye. There. Zarenko points in astonishment to his eye, from which a single tear slowly makes its way down. This Maslov, he's like a fairy tale hero. I thought I was going to be able to do all the options. But I guess I should have just called out the lie. Now this will be all. I've interviewed them all. Vladislav Zarenko slaps his notebook closed. Great job, comrade. But I have so much material. Wow. Well, definitely more than I had before we met. What can I say? Thank you for contributing to the cause of post-apocalyptic journalism. Here, take 500 rubles. Azrenko gives you a thick bundle of money, bound tightly with a paper ribbon. Now look, mate, I made a dozen full circles around the city. This is worth much more. The journalist smiles, nods, and adds a few more bills on top. Okay, fair enough. You basically did my job for me. Here's another 200. That's better. Take the thick bundle. Here you go. A job must be paid. Won't argue with that. Let's change the subject. Alright, cool. So we're done with that guy. Did we... Yeah, we talked to Rita already. And her husband. Igoria. Alright, I'm going to call it here. In the next episode, we'll speak to this guard, the captain, and continue talking to the other denizens of the city. There's another shop right here. This is the militia HQ. We still have this apartment complex and the Chamber of Commerce to talk to. Still a lot of conversating to do in Krasno. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode.